and Robert Radtke, President of Episcopal Relief and Development.
I'm going to get the name wrong. Episcopal Relief and Development. Right. You have demonstrated a real care for women's issues. And faith-based institutions have historically sometimes been part of the problem and sometimes been part of the answer. So maybe you could tell us a little more about what you're doing and how you think that we can find a constructive partnership.
Sure. Thank you, Abby, and thank you, Malika, for inviting me to be a part of this wonderful program. This is an issue that I've dedicated my entire adult life to, so it's a great honor to be here, and so thank you for that. Episcopal Relief and Development is the relief and development agency of the Episcopal Church, places gender equity and women's empowerment at the center of all of our work. It is a cross-cutting approach. It frames everything that we do much in the same way that it does, as my colleagues shared here. That comes from a core value of the Episcopal Church, which is to respect the dignity of every human being. And all of us, when we baptize a new member of the Episcopal Church, reaffirm that commitment. So it's really at the heart of what we do. We are working as the International Relief and Development Agency in 40 countries around the world, where gender-based violence is a real issue, particularly in post-conflict societies. But it is an issue, you're quite right, where faith groups in general, and sometimes us specifically, have not always been a constructive player, been part of the problem. But I think if we're going to have a solution, faith groups need to be part of the solution. The Archbishop of Canterbury, you mentioned Congo, the Archbishop of Congo, both of them recently came out with a statement that I'll just read out. Our churches must accept responsibility for our own part in perpetuating oppressive attitudes towards women. We must move forward in such a way that our churches truly become living witnesses to our belief that both women and men are made in the image of God. And I think that if we can see this coming from the clerical leadership throughout the Anglican Communion, we can see it then begin to roll out at the local level. We find that in all of our work in the developing world, churches have a unique reach beyond the end of the road. Many times when you travel to the developing world and you get out of the Land Rover and you cross the river and you walk for another 3 kilometers, the only thing that you'll find there is a house of worship. And so it's vitally important, I think, if we're going to change the problem and we're going to really make progress on gender-based violence, that we mobilize houses of worship. I was delighted to see the picture of St. George's Cathedral, Anglican Cathedral in Cape Town, as a focal point for what's happening there and ringing the bell there. And we need to literally ring the bell in these churches throughout the developing world. Episcopal Relief and Development is committed to providing clergy training, getting these issues out in the open so that clergy can talk about them in their own families, with their own wives and their spouses. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of women clergy these days so far in Africa. That will change in time. To use Bible study as a way to educate the men in the parish, using biblical values that talk about the importance of this and educating young men and men and young boys in this issue. We use a drama, and I saw in the video that Malika introduced a lot of drama. It's important to ring the bell and bring it out in the open and discuss it. I've participated in extraordinarily moving programs where local communities begin to talk about this and uncover this. I think men are not the enemy necessarily in this scenario. Many times they themselves are trapped in violence. You see that in the Congo, certainly in post-conflict societies. And they need reconciliation and healing too. And I think churches can play a very important role. Faith groups in general can play a very important role. And if we're going to really make progress on this at a global level, we cannot leave faith communities out of the discussion. So thank you.
Absolutely.